My name is John Matthews. I'm the Executive Director for AGWA, the Alliance for Global Water Adaptation. We're an organization that has focused for a decade on how we develop the capacity, the resources, and the knowledge for how to think about climate resilient water resources management. And we're a network of around 2,000 people. We're interested in the Changemaker Awards because we understand that actually climate resilience is an act of leadership, that it's something that it requires bold thinking and bold actions. And often it means swimming upstream against a lot of uh, the assumptions that we've made in the past without thinking about climate change. And we actually really need the Changemaker Awards as a signal for aspirations, for hopes, for what positive change can really look like. The decisions that many organizations are really struggling with making is what climate resilience means. What does it look like? How can we see it? How can we apply it inside of our institution or in our the groups that we interact with? Um, so in my experience, I believe that climate change is a profound, almost kind of revolutionary idea for how we think about water management. One of the biggest assumptions that we've made for many decades, possibly for millennia even, around water management is that the past predicts the future. And climate change tells us that the past is not a good predictor of the future anymore. In fact, there are lots of uncertainties. They're often very difficult. AGWA as a network, and we very often act as an advisor for other organizations, often quite large and influential organizations. And in truth, I've seen many groups actually fail repeatedly. It's difficult to bring in a resilience perspective. It often means making fundamental changes in how the institution works, how it sees risk, how it thinks that different roles are influenced, and it's a deep commitment for an institution to actually be able to reorient in a significant and meaningful way around climate resilience. On the water community, we understand that water is not something that's bound up in a single discipline like hydrology or engineering or governance. We also understand that water is not bound up in a single sector like energy or cities or the environment. And we also know that, that there's no institution that owns water. We understand that water is something that bleeds across sectors and institutions and disciplines. And that water is more of a connector than it is a sector. And that insight is what I believe the climate community needs from water, that we actually are the organizing principle for how we should deal with climate adaptation and climate resilience more generally. Probably 80% of our climate decisions are really resilient water resources management decisions. And so I think the Changemaker Awards has an opportunity actually to be able to signal this joining together. This is a really difficult and challenging time for many individuals and institutions, and I think it's easy to become very focused on the sense of immediate and short-term crisis. However, one of the things that I sense in my own work and even many of my own personal relationships is that there's a much stronger, even deeper awareness that all of us exist in a web of systems, and that we work within networks, within supply chains, uh, within invisible connections across all kinds of institutional and political boundaries. That's really the heart of resilience thinking. It's also right at the heart of how the water community thinks about water as a shared, co-managed resource. Uh, and I think in a way that the COVID crisis is actually leading many people to begin to reflect quite rapidly about are there ways as we expose vulnerabilities relating to the virus, are there other lessons, higher lessons that we might be able to pull from this?